which is, as you were saying, the PNC, the Pacific Nations Cup, finished up last week, the weekend just gone, and it was Japan, as it looked like from day one when they stuffed Fiji. It was Japan who claimed and were flawless, 3-0, absolutely the champs and deserved. And Fiji did actually sneak into second on try difference, I think, just over the unfortunate US, who put it up to Japan more than Fiji and more than the other two contests. So the US did ask them some questions, but Japan look really, really good, and it's nervous signs from an Irish point of view because they look really good in their own World Cup year. And they're in our group.
The US, they're a curious outfit. They're definitely getting there. They have a lot of, they've obviously got their professional league. They got a wee bit of depth. They took a few guys out of this team this week. Ben Landry they took out John Quill. Took out Cameron Dolan. So a lot of heft from that pack went out, and the guys who came in were able to still do a job.
Similar job as well. They were still quite physical. And that's what they were bringing in that first half.
They played quite a structured sort of Tier 1-esque kind of game. It's just a notch or two below Tier 1. And the problem then when you run into a team that's going to strike from anywhere and score tries is that when that does happen, you just can't make up the numbers, no matter how well you're playing in general play. And they suffered for that a little bit. They did score a nice try. I thought Aj McGinty was running things really smoothly and had been doing so all tournament. He is their best hope. Good to see Madison Hughes get a bit of meat as well. He's a very exciting player, and we'd love to see him in the team a bit more often. I think generally speaking, those winger jerseys, as good as Blaine Scully has been, you might think of maybe even moving him to fullback and getting some lethal weapons. I miss Mikey Teo on that wing for the US. I think
in years gone by it was Zian Guanya and stuff lighting it up from that position. You need a bit of pace, out and out pace in the US team. Their sevens are all about pace, and this is why recruiting some of those sevens boys in couldn't hurt.
Couldn't hurt at all. And Ben Pinkelman actually off the bench had a couple of huge plays in the run up to one of their tries that they got at the very end of the game. Pinkelman made a great pickup, and he's a couple of times he's come off the bench from number 8 and been very impactful. So I'm excited to see what he does heading forward into the World Cup.
Well, what impressed me most was that they dictated some of the tempo. They managed to ask a few questions of Japan, managed to slow it down a bit on Japan. And to be honest, when it was that slow and laboured, Japan really struggled to get their multi-phase going. There was a repeated kind of sequence of play where Japan would go 1, 2, 3 phases of a hit up, and on the third they'd just drop the ball. That would be like one of their rows dropping it in contact against another row, and it's just that little bit of slightness counting against them in that area. But gee whiz, what Japan did so well was just flick that accelerator button when it was on straight away, and off turnover especially they were lethal and punished the US duly and appropriately.
And listen, the Japan as well with their professional league, these are the two Tier 2 sides with professional domestic leagues, and you kind of tell they can rotate guys out. Those locks that came in obviously didn't do a good job as Vimpy and Luke Thompson had done in the weeks previously. They were a little more slight and definitely had a second choice ring to it. But my God, in terms of where they're making their money, Yutamura at 10 is lovely, but Fukuoka and Matsushima on the wings with Yamanaka there at fullback, that's a sensational back three, and they're just making tries from nothing. Fukuoka in particular is just electric.
He scored another worldie as well, and it was like he scored one that was pulled back actually, and it was an absolute worldie of a finish, and it was just he had a fraction of a heel on the line, but he got through, chip over the top, gather. He's all class. He's all class, and he's all razzle dazzle as well. He really does the lot from that wing.
And
he's devastating.
In not all that much space, and it's the most dangerous a Tier 2 team can be, when if they're given a little bit of space and time to move, they will just score tries. They'll find tries from nothing. You saw it against the Springboks last time out. It's the best recipe for a Tier 2 team to cause an upset. And it's probably why the US won't be able to do it, is because they don't have that razzle-dazzle game as functional and professional as they are. And why Japan are a very scary proposition for ourselves, Ireland fans.
Scotland too.
And Scotland too,
they are. They're coming to the World Cup with serious plans of making their first ever quarterfinal at home, and why shouldn't they be? They're the only champions in that group. Scotland and Ireland are champions of nothing right now, whereas Japan are champs of the PNC, and they're going to be hosting, and they're going to be dangerous. That's all I can say. They're going to be dangerous. That was that game, but there was also obviously the other big contenders who really lost it on day one with Fiji. who played out quite an attritional Islanders clash against Samoa. It was actually quite a good game. And Samoa had all the ball and all the territory. They were like 70-30 or above for the whole game. It was Samoa, and Fiji's defence was the story of it, because Samoa only got 3 points through it.
Yeah.
Now, Sayuteni did miss 1 or 2 kicks early on that could have changed that, but by and large, they were struggling to get anything off against what is quite a dogged, determined Fiji side in defence. And the one instance when it broke for them from their own half, they scored an absolute worldie of a try.
That was got by a classic poach. I mean, they have that poach game too. It's by no means a classic effort from Fiji, but they're very solid all over the park. I think Body and Radradra working well together.
Centres now. That's kind of come into view over the last few weeks, going back to the Maori tests as well. They're the two standout centres.
You've options there outside them in terms of the winger jersey. You can go with Nkosi on one wing and maybe Nkosi,
yes.
And Tuisova on the other, or you could go with Gonova can get in. Patrick Osborne played at the weekend. There's a lot of options, but that 3-quarter line is pretty settled. Frank Lamani and Ben Volavola are your halfbacks, and Body and Radradra are the centres, and you're starting to see the team take shape.
Yes,
and you have a pretty decent back row in there with Kunitani and Mata. Generally speaking, a very sharp defence is developing. We know what they can do if they're given a bit of open space with ball in hand with those guys. So now it's just about adding layers. I mean, they've obviously a little bit disappointed to relinquish this title, but big picture, it was probably a worthy lesson for them to learn against Japan. And obviously in that away fixture against the Maori, they learned a little bit about their squad depth as well. Moving forward into this tournament, I think they're going to be... with a very smart coach, there's a lot of learnings they can take from what has been a very active season already.
For sure.
It's just fine-tuning things. I think they're pretty much where they need to be, and it's all about performing on the day now. They're working out some little tactical things that they want to attack each side on, but it's top inches stuff. They have a very solid team.
For sure. And but from Samoa's perspective as well, they really did put it up to them, which was great to see. Sayuteni at 10 is definitely the right option, having seen him play two tests there now, and seeing what's in there behind him. It's definitely give him the go, and hopefully they'll get Nana Williams back in time, and I think they will, to join that squad and give them a bit more razzle-dazzle out wide to try and unpick defences like this. But one encouraging sign was that their scrum was on top of Fiji the whole day, and Fiji's scrum had been a point of big improvement for them. They've made strides on it in the last year. They're still new to that game. And
Mulapola is low-key a very, very good loose-headed scrummager, and that back row is pretty lightning as well, with Chris Vui and Jack Lamb and TJ Ioane even at 8.
They can make stuff happen. They can make stuff happen all over the park. And it didn't quite click for them, but I think a lot of that was down to Fiji's very suffocating defence that was brought.
I would love to see Leua back in the centre as well. They've moved him to the wing the last couple of weeks. Get him back, get him with Lilo, get the band back together, and let's go breaking teams down through the middle. It's where Samoa are at their most dangerous.
I also think that once Nana Williams is free to play there at fullback, then you have options on the wing with what they have there being selected. So I think it makes the most sense to keep that centre partnership. And then suddenly it's a very dangerous prospect. And again, similar to what we were saying with Japan, they're in our group, and they could. Yeah. They have enough of a history, Samo, and enough of a culture of throwing the ball around that they can upset some big guns if they get a lot right on the day. Yeah. And things like their scrum going well, set piece wise being organised, that's a good sign for them to take on into the
set piece is fairly solid. It's about sort of the dynamism of their carries and their offloading game, and can they get that right? Mm-hmm. They have dynamic ball carriers in that back row. Can they link up?
They have distributing fast men out wide as well.
Yeah, and two very solid centres who are very dangerous, and we see that in club footy all the time. The question is, with big set defences in front of them, are they going to be able to break them down? Are they going to be able to get on top of some collisions and get the hands free and then be clinical when it happens? All of that needs to come good for Samoa to threaten either Scotland, Ireland or Japan. It's a tough pool for them, but they will take some positive learnings out of the game. They were well worthy of their win in the rain against Tonga,
for sure,
and that was a great opening day. They didn't quite reach the heights of that. Will be frustrated by the US. I mean, they stood toe to toe with them for 80 minutes, and despite having some opportunities, couldn't take it. But they will bitch about that Nige decision going against them.
Yes.
So there's a lot to be happy about if you're Samo, and certainly they're in a better place than they were heading into this tournament.
For sure.
They seem to have a settled team. They found
a little bit of momentum, I think.
Yeah,
I would say.
so.
Because certainly off the back of, like, it was 2 defeats back to back, but they were against sides that traditionally they haven't had the edge over, and it's good to see them just being as combative and competitive as they are. And yeah, we're testing a few things, but I'm hoping to see the full team back sooner than later. In terms of, I think they have one more match outside of the PNC window to play before. But come World Cup time, you'll want to see obviously Nanai Williams back, and just the back line being firing a bit more, because it's the one thing that I feel has been missing is that in the top edges is just their back play hasn't actually kind of translated to too many points this tournament, which is a shame, and it's not something you normally associate. But I think it is something that is remedied almost straight away if you keep say Tenny at 10 and then have Nanai Williams come in at fullback. I think suddenly that back line is very dangerous all of a sudden.
Yeah, totally. I think the way their schedule is working out is pretty useful for them as well. They've obviously got the start against they've got one more pre-game against Australia in Sydney.
Yeah.
And that's obviously a tough outing, but they're going to get some learnings from it. And then the way they build into the World Cup, they got a game against Russia to start with, which is great.
That's their main target game, to try and win outright.
It's good to get it out of the way. Yeah. It's good to get it won, and then obviously they've got a turnaround. So Russia will be off a short turnaround going into that game, so they'll already be on the back foot. And then the Samoans will play Scotland, and they can really throw themselves at that game. And who knows? They have a lot of talent, so things to be pleased about for Samoa.
Yeah, for sure. And then similarly, in sticking with the Islanders, Tonga got the win that they did deserve on the balance of play, and Canada got the beating they deserved as well. It wasn't like didn't have it all their own way. Canada, once the game was kind of lost, started throwing the ball around a bit more and looked a bit more competent once they did. They just have very little endeavour when the game's in the balance, and kick a lot of ball and are a bit aimless. And Tonga were bigger and stronger, and their pick and jam their pick and jam game was well drilled, quick and effective. And for the first half, it really did blow Canada away. When the game was in the balance, Tonga blew them away, and then they'll be annoyed a little bit because they kind of switched off and took the foot off the gas a little and allowed Canada back in. And Canada did score probably their best try of the tournament in this game, in that period of play when it was kind of lost for them. Threw it around, a beautiful sweeping move, breaking the Tongans down in the midfield, and then running in the score. But Tonga will be pleased about this performance on balance. They got the win that they desperately needed this side of the World Cup, especially as you were saying last week, they have to play the All Blacks or something before going in, which will not be a confidence builder. But this one was. They definitely showed superiority in pretty much every area on the pitch compared to Canada, which wasn't that surprising from what we were looking at with Canada this year.
They have a game against Fiji, and then they have a game against New Zealand, and then they have a World Cup opener against England, followed by a game against Argentina, followed by a game against France. I mean,
it's tough to argue momentum.
There's not going to be anything but hidings in their immediate future. I mean, I hate to be brutal. I mean, they have their positive aspects, but they haven't been. Like, there isn't the optimism that's there for Samoa or Fiji or USA.
It's because,
or Japan,
like you say, that instead of playing that offloading basketball, can catch a cold kind of try finding rugby, they tend to err on their physicality, which is right because they're genetically very, very big people, and they have a physical pick and jam game. That's what they were bringing to this PNC more than any other team, was the pick and jam, repeated kind of phase play. And as good as that is in tournaments like the PNC, and even though this year it didn't win anything bar one contest, when you get up against tier 1 teams, they can just deal with that, and they can deal with that at a much higher level.
New Zealand, England and France certainly won't be physically deficient against them, and the chances are Argentina are going to cut them to ribbons anyway. So it's not a wise tactic. But that said, Tonga at the moment aren't really in a position to take any of those sides on. Their real hope is to not finish last in the pool and to get the win against the USA, which is itself an ask. But that'll be a good game to finish up for them.
For sure, quite
there's got a few defeats to come between now and then.
I know, and it'll be a few sore bodies all the way along, because that is not an easy group for them at all. But
they're not the team to watch.
No, but that's why it was important that they did get the win that they do warrant over Canada, and they are a stronger side than Canada by far, and managed to show that on the day, which was good. So I'm pretty much, I think we saw a lot of good things a lot of positives from all these teams. The only exception being Canada, who we weren't expecting much from, but They really are nowhere this tournament.
Yeah.
But all this tournament's done is confirm that in my head, is they're not something to be worried about.
No.
And it's Italy who are in their group as well. So
Italy, New Zealand, South Africa, and then their final game against Namibia.
So it'll be between them and Namibia duking it out for probably the worst side in the competition.
We don't know what Namibia will look like.
Namibia look like yet. Haven't seen sight nor sound of them. So they could turn up and be awesome. They could turn up and Canada will actually swap them aside. We don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think they probably won't be able to handle Italy. That's that much I'm pretty certain in saying. But yeah, the main story, let us not dampen from, Japan have been awesome, and this is our first look at them this year in World Cup year, and they did not disappoint. They played with pace, with precision. A few new personnel there, people who are plying their trade in Japan for that domestic league and look proper rugby. And
how about that Michael Leach try?
Oh my God, what a worldly of a score.
Yeah.
Like, and they produce so many
highlight reel tries, and just an awesome, the people's team. What can I say?
Great to watch them. The Brave Blossoms, the Cherry Blossoms, whichever you'd like to call them, but they're awesome. And Fiji as well. Fiji lost this tournament on day one to those Brave Blossoms. Got absolutely blitzed by them. Couldn't live with them in Japan. Maybe a different story if it were played back on Suva in Suva, you don't know. But I think there's enough quality in this tournament that definitely some of these sides are going to cause problems for the big tier 1 teams. I'm looking at Fiji, I'm looking at Japan, and a little bit in particular, and I'm looking vaguely at Samoa as well. I think Samoa have more of a chance, just purely where the US are at, like you were illustrating. They're a bit less about that helter-skelter, let's find tries, a bit more about let's do the fundamentals well first. And that style just matches up poorly against tier 1 teams who just have more resources to do that with. Whereas Japan, Fiji and Samoa, if they can get all of themselves right, those are 3 to watch in the World Cup, because they can find tries out of nowhere and create problems for teams and be a headache and a nuisance to deal with.
Awesome. So, and congratulations to Japan. It was a great tournament, a lot of fun to watch, and hopefully they in the years to come, the post World Cup era that's about to dawn upon us, hopefully they stick with it, and maybe we get a Six Nations style PNC where 5 games are played. I'd love to see it. I'd love to see that too, because they're great teams. They were great contests.
It's a great tournament. All it's one of the better tournaments in world rugby at the moment, and Japan are champs of it, and they'll roll into their home World Cup as such, which is ideal.
Indeed.
Thank you very much for watching that video. If you're new here, please like and subscribe down below, and leave a comment as well, because we enjoy the chat and conversation. Thank you.